I have never been edged harder in my life than these past few months. And the perpetrator of this whole entire blue balling situation, Soul Leveling. Once a show starts to go hog wild, preparing for an epic fight or an awesome moment, they pull out the after credits scenes, making you rage harder than the kids on Xbox voice chat after taking an L on Call of Duty. Even though the ending song is great, once it comes on, you want to punch your own screen. I mean, seriously, the show knows how to get you hooked on it, like a meth addiction. They know how to do some of the best cliffhangers in all of anime and even in some media, and does what a cliffhanger should do, make you excited for the next episode by making you punch your screen. And these cliffhangers are hyped up because of one man, Sung Jin-woo. The main reason why this show is one of the most popular shows right now, surpassing One Piece of all things, which by itself is an impossible task, then crashing the servers on Crunchyroll more than once during season 2, is because of him, Sung Jin-woo, from his personality to his design to his power set to his absolute Giga Chad aura. He is just an overall really good and interesting main character that we haven't seen in a long while. While he might not reinvent the wheel of main characters, he most certainly has more development than most modern day protagonists, especially in the shonen genre. Sung Jin-woo started out as the weakest hunter, being one of the only E-ranked hunters in this entire story. He would be constantly failing against the weakest of the weak monsters that a normal hunter could just flip them off and take them down. Some would be in a fight against him like he was Goku fighting Vegeta, constantly being looked down upon and having people take pity on him. But the only reason he risks his life in these dungeons is simply for money. Money to use for his sister's schooling and for the life of his mother, who is suffering from Sleeping Beauty syndrome, better known as eternal slumber. This disease is damn near incurable. It puts the victim into a prolonged coma. This problem was the catalyst of Jinwoo's motivation to become stronger. But in this world, once you awaken, that is your power. You can't train to get stronger, to rise through the ranks like you can in One Punch Man. That is your rank for these dungeons. You have E-ranked hunters like Sung Jin-woo, D rank, C rank, B rank, A rank, S rank, and the national ranked hunter, which is reserved for the strongest of the strong. The jobs of these hunters are to conduct hunter raids, enter the portals, and defeat the monsters on their own turf, before they escape and rampage in human environments. These portals began to open up out of nowhere, which resulted in monsters coming out, and they couldn't be harmed by conventional weapons, but some people awaken into these hunters, which allow them to fight back. But what if I were to tell you that you can awaken a second time? This is where the main story begins, with Sung Jin-woo experiencing what is known as a reawakening, which was caused by his near-death experience. Well, it's not his near-death experience because he actually died. These reawakenings make a hunter undergo a second awakening and receive a significant boost in their strength, surpassing the previous natural limits. The results can make an E-rank hunter rise up to become a C rank or even an S rank hunter, but not for our protagonist Sung Jin-woo, which through his second awakening became the player of the system, allowing him to gain the ability to level up, grow stronger, and aura farm at every chance he gets, where he does daily quests which entails 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, 10-kilometer run. These quests help him earn skill points to go towards his strength, speed, or just his aura. Why does that quest sound so familiar? Anyway, this power came from a dungeon, which was seemingly an easy D-rank dungeon that turned into a double dungeon that took the life of well over 20 hunters, and only about 5 of them survived. If it wasn't for Jin-woo, everyone would have died. Using his intelligence and his wisdom, he saved 4 others from certain death, but he couldn't save himself. His sacrifice allowed him to reawaken and continue on to soul level himself to godhood. But even though he becomes super OP as the series goes on, he started out weak, and even after his reawakening was still weak. Even the Hunters Association, who were baffled how he could have escaped the double dungeon, thinking that he might have reawakened, confirmed that he is still weak as hell with no increase, making them believe that he didn't. As he goes throughout the series, he learns what it means to level up, and with the power to level up, he feels stronger, and it's not just his strength that changes, his entire appearance and voice changes with him. The voice actors portray his transformation very well. At the start, they may sound more subtle and shy, but as he levels up, his voice becomes deeper. He has much more confidence in the way he speaks. He starts developing a six-pack and muscles. His hair starts to change styles. He becomes one of the sexiest people in the show, making him unrecognizable from the E-rank hunter he was previously, making the nurses find him attractive and flock all over him. Wait, now I know why that quest sounded so familiar. Poor Saitama does the same training but becomes bald, gains no riz, and becomes broke. Life is just not fair for some people. Unless your name is I mean Sun Jin-woo, who doesn't have to buy things off the clearance aisle. Jin-woo's personality changes from a shy one to more of a serious tone. He becomes confident in his abilities, and with this confidence, it slowly turns to arrogance. Where he was one-shotting C-rank monsters and hunters, and outmaneuvering B-ranked hunters like it was nothing, he becomes more and more arrogant, which leads into some of his downfalls, which helps him realize that even though he is strong, he still has a lot to improve upon, and to never underestimate his opponents. And the one who made him revise his ego problem is his future loyal servant Igris, who in Jin-woo's own words says he would have dog-walked my ass if he was actually trying to kill me, or something like that. And with that fight, it brings me to the animation and the fight scenes of this show. This show shines in the animation department when it comes to the fight scenes. They show the emotion of Jin-woo and the impact he has on each of the fights. It shows his struggles, it shows his domination of his opponents. It conveys so much in each of his fights, and not a single one of his fights will disappoint you. You have the fight with Kasuga the Snake, which pushed him to his limits, nearly killing him for the first time since becoming the player. Then his domination of Kokoron's group, with a killer OST Dark Area in the background. And that was directly after fighting the B-rank boss in that spider, then taking on the B-rank assassin hunter who could turn invisible, then beating him and taking his moveset that made him special, then taking on the Cerberus, where he got overconfident that he could clear this S-rank dungeon, with his boss nearly providing his downfall, but somehow found a way to win. And we cannot forget about his fight with Igris, which was the best fight of the season, proving that there are still opponents that outclass our protagonist. Not a single one of these fights will disappoint, and this is just season 1. Season 2 has a ton more incredible fights such as Baron, Baruka, and Baru, and these fights are escalated to another level with the incredible animation and soundtrack that comes with it. Dark Aria has become one of my favorite songs to come from the show, and I listen to it daily. Each part of the soundtrack provides a different emotion and atmosphere to each scene, where the one listed usually is tied into a fight showing despair or complete hopelessness, while in the fight with Kukuran's group, he destroys them, taking them all out without breaking a sweat, showcasing his strength in comparison to them. Or in the fight where the S-rank hunters fought Baru, showcasing how inferior they are to him. I can't stop praising this show because it deserves it. This show isn't your standard overpowered protagonist story, where no one can conquer his immense power and can't even breathe in their presence because of his aura. This show showcases struggle, especially in season 1 and even in season 2 with the fight against Baran. This show knows how to go from a serious tone to a more humorous one, to even a very emotional one. Sun Jin-woo isn't just a one-dimensional character who only aura farms or is always serious. He shows emotions like fear, sadness, or even happiness. And I think that is what makes this show extremely special, and is the reason for allowing us to see very different sides to our protagonist. Honestly, this is a very unique thing to happen for an overpowered protagonist. Sometimes shows try, but they fail, while this one doesn't. The main purpose of Sun Jin-woo is to make enough money to support his sister and help find a cure to his mother's illness. And because of him doing his daily quest, is given a key to unlock the demon castle, granting to him the elixir of life recipe as the reward. This potion takes him on a journey throughout this castle where he fights the Cerberus, Baran, and so many other clans. He isn't fighting them to prove he is superior or to get stronger, he wants to save his mother, and once he is able to obtain this potion, he will use it on his mother and break her from the eternal slumber. And once he finally does cure her, he breaks down with happy tears. The goal he'd been working towards was finally achieved. This gave us a new side of him. A very emotional side, a side we didn't see from him at all. A very vulnerable state. The calm and collected facade came down and his true self came out. This was a scene that made me want to do this video in the first place. And that brings me to these brain dead nerds who downvoted this episode because he showed emotion. I think people deserve to like what they like, but disliking and getting outraged because he is crying, the reason being that his aura diminished, and even going as far to disrespect the people who made this episode is just too far. But to be fair, those people are the type of people who think that their favorite streamer is their best friend because of a tier 3 sub and a shout out for that sub. This single episode showcased him finally achieving his goal, and honestly, this is a very fair side of him to see. Whenever we work hard to achieve a goal we have inspired our entire lives to achieve, whether that is kids, marriage, a job, or even just going on a trip, These small things that some people may think are weird can bring us to tears, because it's for our hard work that we have achieved this goal. And while yes, this show may not be perfect, the creators don't deserve that type of hate because of a crying scene. While there are a ton of fair arguments against this show not being the greatest show of all time, that is simply just not one of them. For me personally, the biggest issue I have with this show is the characters. They are by far the weakest part of this show, besides Sun Jin Woo of course. When it comes to the side characters, they have a problem developing them. You don't really develop connections with them, understand their reasons for living, or even just simply to root for them. We mainly care about Sun Jin Woo coming to save the day. You want them to be fodder for his aura farming skills. You want them to lose just for Sun Jin Woo to win. But honestly, that is the point of the show to a certain extent. It's called soul leveling, because we are following our protagonist Sun Jin Woo, who is becoming stronger by himself. Even still, season 2 has impressed me. They did focus some time on the side characters. Even though they may not be the best, they still make you somewhat care about them. Even still, we all cheered for Baru destroying the S-range like a little girl getting the crush to talk to them for the first time. But we still semi-care about mommy getting hurt. That is by far the weakest part of the show. And there are other valid criticisms to the show, like how generic this show can be, where it takes from other shows and even semi-copies and pastes it. But god damn it, that doesn't stop me from loving it. From the world to the power system, it is all fleshed out very well. It may not be a brand new world, and it may be a very basic one, but it showcases everything you need to know about this series going forward. Everything is easy to follow. The power system isn't super complex, but it's effective and balanced, showcasing you different class systems like fighters, mages, assassins, tanks, rangers, and even healers. And all these classes have different unique fighting styles to them. This show isn't gonna be for everyone, and at first it wasn't for me. I read the manhwa when it first came out. I read all the way up to the ant arc, but dropped it. I found all the characters besides Sun Jin Woo bland and boring, but even Sun Jin Woo wasn't really connecting to me as a character. The arc felt like a carbon copy of the Chimera Ant arc from Hunter x Hunter. I only picked it back up because of a friend inviting me to see the Soul Lovely movie that went over season 1 and the first few episodes of season 2. But because of that, I fell in love with it, whether it was the animation of the series or the voice actors who did a fantastic job showcasing Sun Jin Woo, developing into the Shadow Monarch we know of him in season 2. And that is just a few things. There is a lot of reason for me to like the anime. Because of my personal enjoyment and the enjoyment of my girlfriend, this series got inserted heavily into my top 50. And she fell in love with the series off of volume 1 of the manhwa while we were waiting for our plane to arrive from vacation. And now she wants to read it whenever she comes over to my place. This is not the greatest shonen of all time. It doesn't have a story that will make future stories replicated. This show doesn't have side characters that are so well made that they become your favorite characters, and show a brand new perspective in your own personal life, like Jujutsu Kaisen, where people like Nanami, Todo, or even Gojo are more likable than the protagonist and steal the show. It doesn't have an insane plot or story that hasn't been done before, but it has a plot that you can understand, a story that you can get behind, with a protagonist doing the things he is doing with a purpose, with a solid reason for enacting on his goals. I am excited to see where the future of this series goes, and I am excited to see the future seasons of this show, and I am fully on board for the very enjoyable ride that is Soul Leveling, and almost as enjoyable as riding Daddy Woo. What?